Welcome to Toni Unleashed, the podcast where we unleash the truth about all things pets.
Our research and anecdotal evidence matched with pet expert interviews will help you help your pet thrive.
We are here to answer questions, divulge information, and spread awareness about what's really going on in the world of pets.
I am your co-host, Emily Taylor, pet nutrition enthusiast.
And I'm Toni Shalaski, owner of Healthy Pet Products with 3 locations in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and recently expanded to Port Charlotte, Florida. Welcome to the show. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to all of our paw-loving listeners. We are very excited to introduce again Rebecca Rose from Inclover. Rebecca will be a recurring guest, and we're very excited about that because she is a wealth of knowledge and has developed some really great products. It is our favorite supplement company. And today we're going to follow up last week's episode and get a little deeper onto dental. So, Rebecca, what made you come out with your dental health product?
The dental health product was by popular demand. Yeah, so that was one that consumers through the retailers had said there's a real need for a dental product, not just one that masks odor or that has some ridges on it, but let's come up with something that really works from the inside out, has some environmental and abrasive capability, and is a complete dental supplement. And that's when we developed the BioBrilliant, which it was a lot of fun to develop because I got to travel all over to find the ingredients. But it really was something that there are an awful lot of products in that dental category, but nothing quite like BioBrilliant.
So Rebecca's dental health product is called BioBrilliant. The brilliant is for brilliant teeth. And it is a daily additive for prevention. Do you think that customers with a dog or a cat that already has some plaque and tartar buildup, how effective is that going to be on getting that old plaque and tartar off?
It will be effective. And let me tell you how it's going to work. So one of our ingredients is a kelp. It's a specific type of kelp that's farmed from a small area in the North Atlantic Ocean, just off the coast of Maine. And there's such strong quality control around this. It's called Ascophyllum nodosum is the name of the kelp. Around this kelp that we can tell from our lot number, not only when it was harvested, but what shelf it was harvested from.
Wow.
And because we understand that ingredient so well, we know what the makeup of it is and that it will make the tartar more porous. So it will break apart the tartar, make it more porous. And then the other ingredients in the BioBrilliant, the enzymes, will flush it away.
Amazing. So I use the BioBrilliant, and we were just talking about, as you know, I feed only raw food and have for about 20 years. And really, I feel like raw fed dogs really only get a little bit of plaque and tartar up on those canines or the lowers. But the BioBrilliant did absolutely, like I have nothing else to attribute it to, absolutely took that little bit of plaque and tartar off of the top of the canines. And with the amount of BioBrilliant that we sell repeatedly to the same customers, people rave about it.
That's great. And we know that, like for me anyway, I also feed raw and I don't brush my dog's teeth or my cat's teeth.
Yeah, we led with that in our last episode.
Yeah, we pretty much don't either.
Yeah.
So I'll do a lot for my pets, but there's a line.
Yep.
And the BioBrilliant really helps me feel good about that line.
Yep. Agree 100%.
So last time we talked, we were talking about how I needed to add Optigest and the skin and coat and the allergy to my dog's food. And I said, I will, and I'll touchback, and I will say significant improvement. And I noticed, but my follow-up on my point being to why I'm mentioning this is that I have, that was for my big dog with allergies. I have a little dog who I don't brush because he has broken his jaw twice. So I'm very hesitant to get near his mouth. But for a significant period of time, he was very picky about his food and wasn't allowing me to put any supplements in. And it's getting close to that time that I should schedule a dental for him because he's challenging. So I think now I'm going to add the dental specifically to his food. And then next time we can talk about if I still needed to schedule that dental appointment or if I've noticed any improvements in his teeth. And he's a little dog, so he definitely has some more buildup, even though he's raw fed because his teeth are like so close together than my big dog.
Wow.
Yeah, because all dogs have 42 teeth, whether it's a Mastiff or your tiny little dog. Mm-hmm. So it is very important with small dogs to pay attention to their teeth. And especially because if they have dental disease, the bacteria that cause the dental disease can go up into the gums and into the bloodstream and cause problems with the organs. Yep. And so the heart, the kidney, you want to make sure that you're getting rid of that plaque and tartar so that that bacteria doesn't go in and cause bigger problems. And I do feel like you're going to see that you don't need to do the same frequency of cleaning, especially if you start with this right after the cleaning, stay with it, then you'll have a nice head start.
So did you do much research in development comparing large breed dogs, giant breed dogs to the small dogs, or did you just look at dogs in general?
We looked at dogs in general, and what we tested with this product was the abrasiveness of it and the enamel, the health of the enamel, because a dog's enamel and a cat's is much thinner than a human's enamel. Oh. And so what you don't want to do is make something that's so abrasive that it's wearing off the enamel and the tooth. So we had to get that sweet spot, and that's what we really focused on. And so we have the thing that adds to the enamel is the goat milk whey, and that has the minerals to enhance the enamel. And then we add an enzyme, a glucose oxidase, that in the mouth turns into hydrogen peroxide. So when we did the testing, we found that it actually made the teeth whiter.
Fabulous. Wow. That's incredible.
So do you feel like, since we're talking about the little dogs that have more of a genetic predisposition to dental health issues, do you feel like adding the BioBrilliance to their food would help prevent some of those issues long term?
Yes, I do. And I because little dogs do have the closely spaced teeth in the very small mouth, they, even with a raw diet, with all the good things that we're doing for them, it's much more difficult to keep a clean mouth. And that's why you have so much organ issues, heart and kidney primarily, because of that bacteria. So I think as a preventive, plus we know that 85% of dogs develop dental disease by age 2. And so
by age 2?
Wow. By age 2. And with cats, that statistic is by age 4.
Freaking ridiculous.
So we know it's an issue, and we know it's something that we should be preventing. They get their adult teeth at about 6 months. And so get them on the dental supplement.
And back to, we do see senior dogs that have to be on routine antibiotics that have really poor dental health, but their heart isn't healthy enough to undergo a dental. So in case of systemic infection, they're on routine antibiotics.
Yeah. And, that it hit home to me because we'd worked with, so we have a different product for heart health, and worked with a veterinary cardiologist on that. And I asked her, what would make somebody take their dog to you? as a specialist, what would prompt that. And she said, it's usually me standing between them and a dental procedure that they have to have, but their heart can't make it. So my little dog, he broke a molar and had to get that removed. It was a mess. And while he was getting the blood work done, I was so relieved that I have been keeping him supplemented so that I felt confident, and it was the case, that his blood work would be good and he could have that procedure, because I don't know what I would have done if he couldn't have had that procedure. He was in
Lucky?
pain. Lucky is 8. He was chewing on one of our big dog Wilson's hard toys.
Oh, you're kidding. That's all it took?
Oh, you heard it.
That's all it took?
That's all it took. I mean, it was awful.
Well, when you were talking about enamel, so one objection that we get from customers when we do recommend, other than a product like yours to add to the food, but we also recommend raw bones and antlers and horns. And, a lot of customers have already talked to the vet, and the vet is like, oh, no, those will crack your dog's teeth. Or, they're afraid of the raw bones, whatever. So my brain goes to, if a dog's tooth is going to crack, like, is that more the enamel not being strong enough? Is that the actual interior part of the tooth? What is the inside? You would know. But you know what the strength of the tooth in general, which is basically bone, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it can be either, Toni.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've ever seen this. I've seen this before with retrievers, where they're Frisbee dogs. And so they have completely worn their teeth down.
Yeah.
And so there are some dogs and genetically, there are some dogs that have poor enamel and the strength of their teeth is not good. But sometimes it's injury. It's where they are just like, Lucky has some pit bull in him. His jaw is so strong, and he just cracked down on that.
And it can be a perfect storm kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
The right angle of the tooth, where the toy is or the bone is or whatever.
My sister's dog was at a doggy daycare or whatever, and they threw a ball, and the ball hit the tooth so perfectly that it started pulling the root out. So she had to get it surgically removed because it was too dangerous. But it was like the strength of the ball, how hard they threw it, and the angle, all perfectly aligned to fuck her tooth up.
So I cracked my bridge on a nacho chip. A brand new, very expensive bridge, might I tell you. And the dentist said it just had to have been at the right angle. I mean, it's a harder nacho chip, but it's a nacho chip.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took one straight angle off of my bridge on the edge. And she just buffed it out, because we don't need to talk about my teeth, because that's a whole other episode.
We'll get you on BioBrilliant, Toni.
Yeah. There you go.
So BioBrilliant. So what other ingredients are in there that we didn't already touch on that our listeners need to know the benefits? We talked about the kelp
and the goat
So
whey.
we talked about the kelp. And the other ingredient that we touched on is the goat milk whey. So the goat milk whey that we use that builds up the enamel layer. But the really cool thing about that, because we don't add any inactive ingredients to this, it's all active, it tastes really good, and it makes the animal salivate. So that, combined with the enzymes, help to flush the mouth and break down the food particles that are feeding the bacteria in the mouth. So it's kind of an elegant way to wash everything out while they're eating. So we have some people who have been using BioBrilliant. And what they do is they now give it after the meal. It's like a little cleanse after the meal to get all the food particles out. And it tastes good, so they'll, lick the bowl and eat it.
Oh, so they just will put a little bit in the bowl after they've eaten. The dog likes it and licks it out of the bowl, and there you go. Huh. I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We have to share that with all of our employees.
Yeah, we'll have to do a TikTok about it.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good idea.
You're getting a TikTok, Rebecca. Who knew?
The host who doesn't have a bridge story mentioned the TikTok story.
I could be her mother. That's why. Yeah, I could be. Yeah. Yep. So anyhow, a moral of the story is every dog and cat should be on BioBrilliant.
Yes.
There's no reason not to be.
The only reason I can think not to be would be if they still have their puppy or kitten teeth.
Okay.
Let them pop out. Then 6 months, put them on BioBrilliant.
Okay.
And is this intended for long-term use? I mean, should people be buying one bottle after the next, or can you do this like once a year, every 6 months kind of a thing?
This is intended for daily use.
Okay.
So you'll get the best results with daily use.
And what about, like, my counter is littered with Inclover products that I just kind of
I was thinking the same thing. And my thought was how they have those sprinkle containers that have like 10 different sprinkles in it.
Oh, we could make one that's branded Inclover.
Yes,
for all of
because mine is the same because it's Connectin, it's Optigest, it's Skin and Coat, it's Allergy, it's the
so we could just spin through them,
or you just open it all up and just dump it all in.
Yeah, what a good idea.
We can do them all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, you can do them all, and oftentimes they work. There's some synergy with doing them together. So absolutely, you can use them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Emily Claire, there are TikTok videos though on making, and we're doing something with this, ice cube trays. So using bone broth, putting all the supplements into an ice cube tray with some bone broth mixed in, freezing it, and they just pop an ice cube every day and you get all your supplements.
Fabulous.
Yeah, doing stuff like that is very trendy on social media right now in this like pet industry. Like Honest Kitchen is doing so many like cute recipes and Licky Mat is, and like that is a big, like people love watching videos of making those cute little ice cubes or cute little like cookies or whatever for their dogs.
Yes, it's a good idea.
It is. And you can do you can probably do like a nice bone broth layer, or you can even probably do a pumpkin with your supplements, or like a coconut oil base with your supplements. I mean, there's so many options out there to make feeding your dogs a little bit more fun and interactive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Rebecca, for our listeners that are not in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area or Port Charlotte, Florida.
Oh, I can answer this question.
Why?
I know where you're going. Because I recommended your product to a friend that does not live in Pittsburgh, and she went on your website and she ordered it, and she's like, oh, wait, I get percentage off if I buy 2 more. So she bought 3 Inclover products for under $50 for your first time purchase, and you get a percentage off
direct from your website.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you sign up for our emails or newsletters, which I can tell you, it's not, we don't spam you or overwhelm you, but if you sign up, then the initial order, you would get something for that if you're not in the area. But if you're in the area, you should go to Healthy Pet Products because you're probably going to learn something.
Yes, or anywhere else in the country because you only sell to independently owned pet food stores.
That's right. Okay. So we are basic to the independent pet stores, and I should just say that I was re-listening to your introductory podcast over the weekend, and you talked about
Are you
It was
embarrassed?
very good. And you talked about, what you talked about the raw feeding and how you sort of got there and educating a whole host of people. And it really made me think that there's no substitute for that, because you in your stores, you curate what products you're going to carry. You're not going to carry anything that you wouldn't use yourselves, that you don't really believe in. And it's so difficult when you're trying your best to do the right thing for your pet. But I can tell you that we think about it at Inclover, that's all we do. We just do pet supplements. And so we have such a depth of knowledge. And with you all, you have such a breadth of knowledge and a depth that you have access to, that it is a resource that you cannot get online. You can't just Google these things and feel confident. And so when people are overwhelmed, what can I do? Go to your independent pet store. Talk to them.
And that's when we get them. We get them when they're overwhelmed and frustrated and have spent thousands of dollars and are ready to strangle the vets.
Or just know there's better options out there, but just don't know the direction that they need to go in or the direction to take next.
Right.
Yeah. And they want to do the best thing for their animal. And for each person, that's different, because you guys meet them where they are. And you can tell them, this is where we're headed, but on this journey, here's how you can continue to get better. And so if people want to start with feeding a good food and then bring supplementation in, because we can help with supplementation with some of these common health issues, like dental, where through no fault of your own, you might have a dog who cracks a tooth or genetically has bad teeth. And even though you're feeding them well, they're still going to need supplementation. So we can help on that journey to make sure that it is accessible. And that's what I think is really important, is that you don't have to feel shamed. And sometimes when people go to the vet, they feel a little bit shamed because
definitely
they don't want to suggest something that they've read or learned. But at the independent pet store, like Cali Pet Products, these ladies are drinking wine out of a tea mug while we're talking. I mean, you're just going to have a really accessible, nice experience.
And doing the podcast is another reason, was the big reason was to be able to reach a wider audience, because we can't be in the same place at the same time. And there's so many, we want to reach the world. We want everyone to know that there's options and to question everything and just don't follow the herd.
Yeah. And I think over the years, I've kind of taken the approach of that. Everyone's situation is different. Every dog is different. Everything is situational. So not one protocol or not one supplement or not one food brand is going to work across the board for every single dog and every single pet owner out there. Everyone's lifestyle is different. And so that's another benefit of going to your independent retailers, because you have so many options and you can work with someone to pick what works best for you, your lifestyle, your budget, and your pet and their needs, which is hard to find on the internet.
It really is. And oftentimes on the internet, it's the voice that is shouting the loudest. And that's what you hear when maybe you need that thoughtful, quiet voice to deal with your specific situation.
You never know who's at the other end of that on the internet. You just don't know. And, I guess people could say the same about us, but 15 years this October, I'll be in the pet food industry. So, Rebecca, let's talk about the website. What's your official website? And then correct me if I'm wrong, but you do have an independent store locator on your website as well, right?
We do. So you can go to inclover.com and you can look at you can type in your zip code and you can find the closest independent pet store. And if you don't have a pet store that's close to you, you can get the information from our website and you can order on our website as well.
Awesome. But we highly encourage you seek out your independent pet store and develop a relationship with the employees and probably the owner. And then you will have a family and a group of people that are like-minded that can surround you and support you in decisions that you have to make for your furry family members.
Mm-hmm.
And Toni, did you tell the audience that you are on the board of directors of the Indie Pet Trade Association, the nonprofit?
I don't think we did an official announcement, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Maybe we should do a little separate thing. But yes, fortunately, there is an organization with it for independent pet specialty stores in the country called Indie Pet, INDIEPET. And I thankfully was announced as board member, and I'm very excited to be able to help independent pet stores across the country. And honestly, I really want them all to know about this podcast as well, because they can funnel customers to our podcast, because you don't always have the time to get into the nitty gritty as a business owner or an employee that's part-time that doesn't quite have the knowledge base. So we want to be a resource for independent pet stores in the country. So, or who knows, in the world, I guess. But yeah, it's exciting.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really fun. And I mean, staying approachable and, not too, making sure our podcast isn't too like scary and intense and, approachable for all different pet owners.
Yeah, we just want it to be chill and, hopefully too, that we want people to start getting some feedback via email or Facebook or whatever, so that we can have customers and people chime in about what they want to hear us talk about. So
one of the things that you had mentioned in one of the earlier podcasts was about the anecdotal evidence. Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned something about that, and it really gave me food for thought, because as a scientist who's gone through with our supplements, the double-blind placebo-controlled clinical studies, we went to a veterinary school and said, here's what we've done. Here are the results to the clinical studies. And we used the gold standard, all of that. And they said, what else you got? And I said, interestingly enough, we have 20 years of field studies. And they said anecdotal evidence. And I said, not when you aggregate. When you aggregate, you have a strength in anecdotal. So for you all, you're dealing with customers every day and you're hearing the same refrain, and you can make some connection with that you couldn't make if you had an N of one. I have one dog, sure, and here's what I see. And so your customers are going to come in and maybe they have one or two dogs, couple of cats, but you're going to be able to share with them that evidence from a much larger population. And that is a field study that you couldn't afford to do. So I think that is something to really brag about.
I love that outlook. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we need to do, I would love to do an episode.
Need a random show with her.
Yeah. I would love to talk more about all of the clinical studies you do, how that looks, all of that stuff is just so interesting. And I think that is something that our listeners want to hear about, is that scientific evidence and background.
Yeah.
Just really important, especially when we're talking about what we're talking about.
Great info. Yeah. Fantastic. Love it, love it, love it.
Are we missing anything for dental that we need to touch base on?
Anything else you wanted to touch on that we didn't?
Oh, let me tell you one thing though. This is my I love this. When we were looking for the right goat milk to use for our goat milk whey ingredient, You either have a tiny little like backyard goat farm that wouldn't be big enough to supply it, or you have this industrial goat farm, which doesn't have the nutrient base to make for a good, nutritious goat milk whey. So we located this farm that they have 500 goats, and it's been family run for generations. The father in the operation is an ND, a naturopathic doctor, and they have kept all pesticides off their fields. They have a greenhouse where they sprout barley, so they supplement the goats' diet with sprouted greens.
Wow.
These goats are, and when I was there, it was birthing time. It was in the spring, and they were just dropping babies. It was amazing. And it was such a beautiful facility. So, and they have the manufacturing facility, which is maybe 10 minutes away, where they very gently separate out the whey portion that is the rich in minerals. And they have one of 2 drying units that's about the size of a football field, and it just slow dries the whey so that nothing is destroyed. Everything, all the nutrients are available. So when you see something like goat's milk whey, it's not all created equal. So when you put something like that in your animal's mouth and body, you want to make sure that it hasn't been treated with pesticides, that it has those nutrients that we want. So understanding the nutrients and the ingredients is really is key.
That's fascinating.
It's incredible.
What state is that farm in?
It's in southern Washington state.
Oh, I never would have thought that.
Yeah, green grass, beautiful. They did have, just before I went out, they had flooding. So to get there, you had to go out in a canoe because the road had flooded. And so I didn't know till the day I got out there if I was going to be canoeing in or driving in.
So does the flooding happen often enough that they have a canoe at the ready to transport you?
Well, it hadn't, everything's changing, but no, it hadn't happened before. Wow. So that it was very much we got to work with what we have.
So speaking of flooding, I have to segue into Orphans of the Storm.
Okay, you segue. So I'm gonna fill up
our new mission. I don't know, but we are very involved with Orphans of the Storm and helping them to raise money for a new building. The building they are currently in is probably about 40 years old, and it floods. And it will flood for 3 inches or more of rain, I think it was, right? And it didn't used to, but it does now because of the crazy climate changes and things that we're seeing. So they have to get out of this building. And they have the drawings. They know it's going to cost them $4+ million. They're almost at $2 million. So no one is getting my fundraising efforts until this shelter has a new building.
Wow. And where is the new building going to be?
Right across the street. They bought the land. The land was given to them by the county, which sits much higher. This is in Armstrong County in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful, southwestern Pennsylvania is beautiful, but it's very rural. It's not far from Indiana, PA, which is where I went to college. I went to IUP. So it's in Katanning, very rural, very much needed. And they're really doing great things. It's been a no-kill shelter since day one. And the woman that owns it now, runs it now, Beth Ann, her and her husband, her mother is the one that really started it. And she used to ride horses in the 60s and 70s in the countryside. And she literally stumbled upon a pile of dogs and cats that had been shot. Because back then, if somebody called about a stray animal, the police or whomever would, or you, the person, you'd just shoot them. So the township where they live, they just had a dump in the woods, and that's where they disposed of these animals. And Beth Ann's mother came across this and started taking them into her barn.
Wow.
And that's how it started. So it's a really incredible story. And
you walk in and it's what you would like when you see that commercial about ASPCA of like the sad animals and the dirty cages. That's a little dramatized, but that's essentially what the shelter looks like. It's very small, and it's very small. It's very loud. They utilize every single inch that they have with cages and crates and, rooms, and they're stuffed to the brim at capacity. And I mean, there's just no room for anything.
And they're well cared for. Don't get us wrong. I mean, they're doing everything they can. But when we were there on Thanksgiving, they had just taken a litter in.
There's one puppy left
from West Virginia.
Yeah.
There were like 11 of them or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they have little dogs, and they're not doing meet and greets because they're in the middle of nowhere. So we've organized meet and greets at the cranberry store, because the cranberry store is about an hour away, and they have a volunteer that is wanting to help. We have customers that are also volunteering to do transports, and I am applying to be a board member.
Okay.
So we'll see. I really
this is the first time that Healthy Pet Products has ever gone exclusive with a rescue. This is, we're going to release a press release under the Toni Unleashed umbrella, mostly, that we're partnering up and going exclusive with them as a rescue. And I mean, it's pretty cool because it's so much drive and motivation from Toni's end to really help and lead. She's like leading the way with a lot of this, and it's really fun. It's really fun for me because I'm like, yeah, this is sick.
Well, yeah, because you
changed when I went to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary for the first time. I truly was changed. It hit me in the heart kind of place. And the same thing happened when I walked in that place. I was like, oh, no. This has to change. We have to help them.
I think that's great that you're taking what you already have, people coming in who are animal lovers, and introducing them to the animals, getting the word out. And I need to introduce you to, there's a wonderful person who has started a company called Dubert, and they he has his pilot's license and has the most incredible, he's a computer scientist. So they arrange for animals that are in areas that, maybe 11 cute puppies, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get them adopted, and move them into areas where, hard to adopt animals, or just the sheer volume of animals, can all get adopted.
Yeah.
So I have to introduce you to Chris. He does some really good work with shelters who wouldn't be able to have that no-kill status and help as many animals as they do.
And a voice. I mean, I feel like their voice has been hidden for so long because they're kind of out in the rural area part of PA, which is hard to get to. And
people need to know what they're doing. I mean, they're doing great things, and they are truly all about the animals. So anyhow, that's a whole other episode. And we are going to do an episode about orphans. We will sign off. Thanks to all our paw-loving friends.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to talk to you all next week.
Woohoo!
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Rebecca.